Clap it in for this young man right here, man. We got Akki Harvey up in this thing, man. Appreciate you for stopping by, brother. Appreciate you. I know it's early in the morning. Appreciate it, homie.
And we're gonna rock it out. Akki Harvey, well, Aklilu Harvey. That's my real name. Yeah, my dad is from Eritrea, so I'm named after him. It means prince. My son is named after me, so we just got the generational thing going.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I produce films. I met y'all at I met all three of y'all actually at the Houston Film Meetup, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's where I met all three of y'all at. I
Mhm.
want to say that's what pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Pre-COVID.
yeah,
Way
I think I was.
pre-COVID.
Wait.
Yeah, way.
It was pre-COVID. Yeah, we was out. We was having good times.
Yeah, no
Nah.
max.
Yeah, I do that. I produce films. I have a podcast called Akki and Friends because none of my friends are consistent. So I have that. It's not as friendly as y'all's. Mine. We touch on the hard topics on mine. We get a little controversial. Yeah, I haven't. So like I haven't done an episode since like the beginning of the year, but like that's only because I was y'all. I'm setting up a whole studio so we can just record it in there because it was just audio only, but I wanted to do visuals. I got some feedback. I was like, all right, cool. Let me set it up, and then I don't. It's called because none of my friends are consistent because I didn't have any consistent people on there. But
Yeah.
now I'm kind of like I'm getting a two people to try to make them consistent, and then we'll throw guests on there as we go. But I got that. I got a movie that's in development. Yeah, we trying to secure the budget now and going back and forth. The director has a movie that just got on Peacock called his name is Padre. The movie is on Peacock. It's called forgive me. He got a movie on Netflix called Dark Light, and the one on Peacock is called Open 24 Hours. I saw it when it wasn't on Peacock. I saw it elsewhere, but it's on Peacock now. So
Yeah.
you pull up on Peacock and type in Open 24 Hours is on there. Those two movies. If you watch those two, the one that I'm producing now is kind of a happy middle ground between those two movies. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I can't get too much into details right now, only because we still, iron out everything. But it should be out next year. We're supposed to shoot next year. The union strike. Hopefully, all my people, my actual people. So hopefully they don't,
Yeah.
they cross the picket line and come help me out.
I remember when I asked you a question and it stuck with me about Houston having not Hollywood, but studios set up like Atlanta and Louisiana. And I remember you said that, oh man, that's not going to happen. That'll be hard because of the simple fact of the layout of how Houston is. Harris County is so huge. Can you explain that again for the viewing audience?
So the movie studio in Houston thing is funny because last week I had this kind of conversation about this film in Texas with some guys who I'm trying to get to invest in this film. But they kind of want to they're from Seattle. Well, one I think is originally from Texas, but they're LA, Seattle guys, they're West Coast guys trying to set up a tent pole in Texas. And I'm just like, they were going to meet with the governor and everything. And I told them, look, there's certain cities that if you know the right people, like the mayors and stuff like that, like Houston, right? Like I can pull tax incentives out of the mayor's office and stuff like that. Like I can pull little different things out of Houston to try to make it like worth it. But there's no infrastructure for me to actually do it, right? So like I don't know if it's public knowledge or it's just insider knowledge that I have, but like HBO and Netflix are trying to come out here and shoot a couple of things, right? And so, they've been talking about our film incentives and trying to figure out how they could what's it called? Basically profit off of it,
Mm-hmm.
But the fight is because the movie we're doing, like originally, it takes place in the desert. So originally we're kind of looking at the more further west end of Texas, where it's like the desert, dry land, mountains and stuff like that. But the budget we have to like push the budget way up to a whole range just to get tax incentives here versus New Mexico, Oklahoma, tax incentives perfect, right? Infrastructure wise, Houston, there's no funny, like I've actually found a couple places that I was like, I could put like a smaller production studio out here. Like there's some areas, it's a matter of actually buying the land and then but it's just a matter of trying to redevelop that part, right? But like there's no prop houses. There's no true gear. Like we have one gear rental, but even them, like it's not a real, like if you go to LA or Atlanta or just somewhere or even Florida, like if you go out there and go see their like rental houses, they got like stuff. Like you got everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like lights as big as, lights bigger than all of y'all,
Right.
lights that it takes two, like they got everything, they have an infrastructure, therefore you have a workforce, therefore you have bigger studios to come pump money in, which inevitably helps the indie guys, right? Like the indie guys unfortunately can't move the world, right?
Right.
Unless they got money pumped into them. If you got money pumped in you, you can almost move whatever you want. But even then, that money is gonna stop, because if the money is not getting a return, why am I pumping money?
Gotcha.
The guys who pumping money, they want a return on investment. And typically, like if it's a long-term investor, they want to see some type of profit break even in their first 5 years. They really break even their first 5 year profit in the long run of a 10-year span. That's just long-term investment strategy for anything you do,
Right.
Especially if you're on a building standpoint. Which film is, if like even so, like the meeting I had, even like the conversation we were having, some of my numbers kind of like looks funny to them, and I was like, cause the return numbers look kind of funny. I'm like, this is like based on Box Office Mojo, other films in the same category budget, what they've done, and just everything. I'm like, and my funny thing is, like, y'all can make the greatest film in the world, right? You can shoot it on the airy, lighting can be beautiful, sound can be great. You can, if you get in a film festival, perfect, right? If it wins the festival, even better, because now it's basically free publicity, right? But if you do all that and you don't take it to the festival, or you don't have the right names attached to it or anything like that, inevitably, like, nobody's really gonna see it,
Right.
It's the marketing, right? So like you can't, Disney, for example, they got $100 million budgets and all this stuff, right? Their marketing budget is essentially another film budget. So their marketing budget mirrors whatever their film budget is most of the time. So if it's the movie Cats actually is a perfect example. So the one that flopped with I think it was Universal that did it.
Yeah.
But Cats, cool.
Right.
Cats' budget was $100 million. They pumped another $100 million into marketing. They didn't come close to making 200. Right. Disney will pump, Disney pumps 100, 300 into Avengers. They make $2 billion. They good. They made their money plus some, we good.
Right.
And that's just kind of like understanding that lane, right? Understanding, and then also like I just talking to a bunch of other people, I'm starting to realize like I've come from a high budget world, and indie low budget world doesn't understand high budget, right?
Right.
And I was like, no. I'm like, the money is there. You just have to understand how the rotation of film goes. So like, the more marketing you pump into it, the more money you're gonna get out of it.
Right.
I like, i.e., like you always want to, especially on the indie level, you want to keep your budget like I don't know how, but 500 to $1 million, right? Now even now, like our budget on this film is like 500, and like that's been my hard line, just because I'm like, I know 500 we're good, we can make that back, we can keep going, and it'll be good enough of a flip of a profit. It's not too many cast people, casting it. The names we're grabbing are like, 2 of them are going to be like some star-studded names, but after that, they're going to be just kind of like genre roles, genre-specific names that you've seen in other movies like that. So the face, but you're not necessarily like, I know that guy. He was in this other movie also,
Right.
You're familiar with these people, and you're
right.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Let me ask, let's backtrack a second. how did you get into all this? What inspired you to get into this whole film TV industry?
You know, it's a life question, honestly. It is no, cause you gotta we're gonna go a little bit further back. I'm gonna take you a little bit back. I'm gonna take you on the journey real quick. So,
Gotcha.
I grew up in Prairie View and Houston, right? Like we lived in Houston. Mom, dad got split. Dad lived over in Sharpstown. Mom moved back with parents in Prairie View, right? So we lived in Prairie View. I was the family. My whole family legacy lineage is PV, from great grandparents on down. It's all PV, you know. So all I've ever known was Prairie View. All I ever knew was was purple and gold. That's all I ever knew, you know. That whole when I went to PV, I was fourth generation, right? There is nobody in my family that's like a filmmaker. There's nobody in my family that does arts, photography, anything like that. Like the closest we get to arts is my grandpa, which is architecture, right? So on the artsy end with him. But I've always had this knack for storytelling, just in general, right? So like the impromptu competitions with UIL, I do that, right? It was fun to me because they'll give you the little topic and you just make up a story about the topic, you know? Easy. That for me, that was easy. The little writing essays we had to do for the state standardized test, perfect, easy, blew those out the water, understood storytelling. And then my grandma used to look at me weird for it, but I have sticks in the backyard and I'd be going through my own shows and, you know, own movies and stuff in my head in the backyard.
Yeah.
Right. I had no idea, honestly, that film was like the whole movie TV world is Hollywood, big mystery. It's not as big as a mystery anymore because, you know, you got YouTube and all these other stuff. Like, you get more behind the curtain access now. Back then, you know, growing up, we didn't have as much behind the curtain access, you know?
Right.
So, for me, I didn't understand the full concept of that's the thing you can do. When I got in high school, I worked at the Y, and it was I had a friend, and his name was Randy. He worked at the Y with me, right? He was at U of H. He was getting his degree in communications, and he would make music videos, right? And so I was like, let me come make a music video with you. I was like, I've always wanted to do that stuff, you know? So I started making music videos with him, you know? You know, that's why he's like, I kind of, like the first video I worked on with him, unknowingly, like now to this day, I understand the role I played, but unknowingly, I produced and AD'd that video and semi-directed. So, and that's just unknowingly, not knowing the job position, just understanding how to, just my organizational brain, understanding that organizational, structural flow of, hey, we got to go here, here, here. We got to set up things here, here. We got to move people here, you know? With him also,
that's how I became a man of many hats right there.
Well, when I dive into something or research something, I dive in and research it, right? So right now, if y'all ask me about a yacht, I can almost tell you anything about a yacht, right? If you ask me about some jet skis, I can almost tell you anything about jet skis. Motorcycle, same thing. Only because these are stuff that I've been looking at buying. I'm like, yo, I was like, I'm actually curious. I took my homeboy with me. He's like, why are we going to a boat store? I'm like, bro, just shut up. Come on. You know, we went in there, you know, and we was talking to the boat guy. He was like, yeah. He was like, my homeboy was like, how much is the monthly note on these? He's like, you know, $500 to $600. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, because you can do them you can do them mortgages basically and wrap it into 15, 30 year, you know, lease on a yacht or something like that, you know?
You're a man that's 1 point.
Right. So I do that, you know. That's what research is already there, you know. And I don't know if that's just because my family's all doctors, engineers, lawyers, teachers, you know. So that's just like I said, fourth generation PV. At PV you got engineering, teaching, and you know, nursing and medical. That's all their top degree programs there.
Right.
So automatically that's just I want to say genetically in me, but you know, it's genetically in me. Plus, you know, my grandpa, you know, well, my mama was a science teacher, grandpa, you know, architect. So they kind of teach me the flow, right? Business wise, my dad is a failed entrepreneur. So, sorry, Dad. But my dad taught me the bad businesses of, you know, the bad dealings of business, right? And like even at a young age, like I always try to like I used to tell him, I'm like, hey daddy, like he had a restaurant. It was an Ethiopian restaurant and everything. I kept telling him, I'm like, yo, I'm like the first area we were in, it was like China, it's basically Chinatown now, right? Like full Chinatown. It was off Bel Air. It was near Sharpstown. It was like Bel Air and Gessner, that little area, right?
That's what they say, yeah.
And I was like, yo, I'm like, hey, there's too many Chinese people around here, man. He's like, man, we doing good, you know? And then they, you know, because, you know, as a business owner, you're leasing buildings when you're a restaurant and stuff like that. You don't really own the property. So, you know, they didn't renew his lease. They kicked him out, you know?
Oh, man.
And so he moved over to another neighborhood off like Renwick and Bel Air, which is now like full Little Mexico, you know, down that way. And before it got to that, you know, I kept telling him, I'm like, hey, you need to find a different location because this is going to turn into like I can see it popping up. And like, this is me at a young age. Like, this is like before, you know, like middle school me. Like, I'm just like, yo, you know.
Catching on. Just catching on.
Right. But at the same time, like seeing him just run everything and do the business and like being there late at, because he was like, he'd be open to like 4 or 5 in the morning, you know? So just, you know, Africans, they'll party to 8. Like I've literally been out, like when we went to Atlanta for the soccer tournament and we didn't get home till like 10 a.m. And I was just like, yeah. But nah, seeing like understand like, well, and then like the East African community has big respect for my dad in Houston, you know?
Yeah.
Like one guy, I was at a place getting my inspection sticker, and me and him was talking, he knew my dad. He's like, man, your dad is like a mob boss. I was like, what? I was like, all right. My dad had a knack for like pulling, like, you know, just like, it's hard to see when you're young, but when you get older, like you start to understand some of the stuff you saw. And so I was like, man, he was pulling stuff off. He was also doing some little shady stuff. So that's why I said I learned how not to do bad business from him.
Yeah.
There's only 2 ways you can learn how to do good business. You either learn from somebody who's a good businessman, or you learn from somebody who's a bad businessman, right?
Right.
You pick and choose which one to do the right.
Right. And you know, I basically had 2 people in my life like that. Like somebody who, like, he's not really my uncle. I call him my uncle, but like I learned like great business from him. You know, he's damn near a gazillionaire, you know? And then my dad, I learned how to, you know, like my dad actually, like when I graduated from college, he took me to go incorporate my business, you know, like, so he taught me how to do LLCs and everything, go to the tax office, get the tax ID, get your EIN, do all the proper business paperwork, you know, so that's like, he's taught me stuff along the way, but I know what his pitfalls are, and I saw the failures, so I know how to be a success, you know. But on the film piece, once I started doing music videos in high school, it took off because I just was like, hey, yeah, I can do music videos at this point, right? And so that's all I've ever said to people, and I've just been working ever since. So if a PA gig came up, I was hitting that. If a camera, I learned how to, like, I was really like in college, like before I went to Full Sail, when I was at PV, I was really DPing my friends like music videos and stuff. You know, I was DPing / producing their music videos, and so lighting, camera angles, all that stuff, like my brain just naturally got it. I learned how to do photography. Like at the beginning, photography is a lot easier now for like anybody who wants to pick up a camera and just shoot now. Yeah. But like back then, you know, you got to manually focus on like dealing with, and I still use my 70 to this day, you know, even though I bought it back in like whenever it first came out, like 2013, 12, something like that.
I think that's when it came. Yeah.
No, I still use it because like I love mirrorless cameras, but I hate them at the same time because they give like a fake image. If that makes sense, right? So like their image is more crisp, sharp, and they're like they give more of a fake image, and then people who over Photoshop those images, like just give you this plasticky that it's real easy to like mess up that image. Beautiful images. Just DSLRs give you a more closer to film-esque look, you know? And then, you know, like film cameras, I mean, like, yeah, I like, you know, like if I ever have my hand on a film camera, I'll shoot it. But yeah, like, no, like, that's just film is the look of film is like magical, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I know a lot of people say like you can't tell if something's shot on film or digital nowadays. And I always tell people, I was like, to an untrained eye, maybe not. To somebody like me, yes, you can, because you see where the differences are, you know? Right. So like I had this like at PV, I hit a ceiling, right?
Mhm.
Like at PV, I was in cab, so I helped do all the like events and logistics for concerts and all this other stuff, right? Like we did that plus videos and stuff like that. You know, I like marketing was really my thing at PV, and then networking has always been my thing, right? From high school on up, like if you talk to anybody, Akki always has some type of guy.
Right.
Yeah.
If they
He knows
ask,
the
I'd be
guy
like,
that knows the guy.
I got a guy,
Right.
guy for that. You know, I was always the guy who had a guy for that.
See,
Something I learned from my dad though.
you know, you should have your own movie yourself. Like when they do like your biography or whatever, like Akki is that guy that knows a guy that knows a guy.
Guy that knows a guy.
No. You went too many guys. I'm the guy that knows the guy.
That
Yeah, I'm
knows
just
a guy.
being silly.
No. No. We one guy in between. I'm the guy that gets you to the guy. Yeah.
It gets you to the guy.
Like,
I'm the guy.
no,
I'm the
I'm the guy.
Yeah. Gotcha.
No. Like problem solving has always been like, I don't know, like it's puzzles always been my thing, you know, problem solving. There we go.
Right.
And you know, like that my drive to be great at what I do drove me past where many people don't go, right? So like I took my homeboy to Full Sail with me, like after I graduated to go shoot some stuff out there. And he was like meeting all the people I knew and stuff and talking to all the people I knew. And me and him was like riding back. He was like, hey yo, he was like, why everybody don't know as much as you do? I was like, what you mean? I'm like, oh, these are great people. What you talking about? He's like, yeah, nah, bro. He's like some of them, like, if they work in camera, they know camera. You know, I was like, yeah. He's like, they AD, they know the AD. You know, they produce, they directed it. You know, all this stuff. He's like, you know everything, and you're good at everything.
Literally.
I was like, yeah, bro. I was like, because people didn't want to stay up 72 hours straight and do anything. So I was like, I can't help like the path that I went on. I was like, at the same time, I was like, to be great. I think to be a great like producer in general, I knew I always wanted to direct, right? And so me studying directing, I understood that passion. Cinematography came easy to me because just creatively, I understood light and the way you shape light and everything. And then I feel like everybody knows what a good and bad camera angle is, but instinctually you can feel it, right?
Right.
Not everybody, because some people don't take good pictures angles. I don't.
It's the mental. You gotta like that you gotta tap into it. Like it's a mental tap in. Like you can look and see. I promise you can look and see. But mentally, if you can't get it out of here and push it through the lens, that's where it messes up.
Oh.
Right. And it's being able to control that mental here and pushing out the lens. Same with lighting. Like, yeah, bro, like anybody can actually light good if they actually try, right? But just understanding how the shadow, the light, and like where the light fall off is, understanding foot candles and all that, like how strong the light beam is and all this, like just understanding that whole complex of lighting.
Does that also This also goes into with colors as well too, because I brought that to somebody's attention as well too. Like green means money and yellow means this and all that. Like I thought that was really cool how films and TVs they use different color lightings on some things to tell the emotion of the character as well too. I always thought that was dope as well too.
I just thought of though, like in pre-pro, right? So like that's where the biggest thing between like a good filmmaker and a bad filmmaker is it's not even like indie and studio, right? It's a good filmmaker and a bad filmmaker. The bad filmmaker has a story and he has some lines on the page and he got a camera and like a couple of lights and like, yeah, we just gonna go out and shoot this, and they just like run a gun and shoot whatever. A good filmmaker is actually gonna sit there and take his time, like, hey yo, like this is like a heartfelt scene, you know. Like I might want him in like deep blue so you can understand the depression that he's in, you know?
Right.
Or like, like the girl, she needs to pop out, so she needs some type of bright colored dress. But it can't just be a pink dress, it can't just be a red dress, it can't just be an orange, like some bright color. The color needs there's a reason. It needs to mean something. Like what does this color mean? Why did she even, like her character wise, psychologically, if we break down characters, and this is being a good director, production designer, and DP, like character development wise, hey, why is your character wearing the color dress that they are? What statement are they trying to pull by wearing that dress?
Right.
You know,
There's a lot that
I
goes
think
into
no, it is, and it's
Yeah.
mentally you have to think about it. Two good movies, like just color theory wise to watch, right? La La Land, and then Cruella de Vil, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say Cruella de Vil, the new one, and I say that because they use like if you don't, it's hard not to follow, but if you follow it along, right? They use color, just even the changing of the color of her hair to like show who she is at what time, you know?
Right.
The way the dresses are, right? Like the whole statement piece, right? She's going,
Right.
it was supposed to be an all white ball, right? She went
Right.
there, burned it up, popped out
Burned
in
it up.
red. Like, yeah,
Red.
no, I want to be the spotlight of this whole thing. Plus,
Yeah.
if you kind of look at it, now granted, this is just me, like, this is my theory, not me actually knowing if this was their theory or not. You know, white is more of a purity, red is like more of a, you know, like
Devilish.
well, not even devilish, like just like, you know, like there's different ways to interpret it, but like when she burns that white dress and pops out into this red dress, she's like basically becoming a new woman. She's not who she was when we first started this film. She is somebody completely different from this moment on throughout the rest of the film, you know?
Gotcha.
So it's just kind of that. So, but it's all planning, right? So like the best movies are planned with, right? You can't do an Avengers. You can't make an Avengers and like we only got a script, you know?
Right.
We actually everything has to be thought of, you know? I mean, you can't have like the Marvel universe, as much as people like harp on it or whatever. Like when you really think about it, that is a hard like task to accomplish.
Yes, it is.
Because
10 years.
right, you not only is it a 10-year stretch, but you're tying in so many movies to get to this one ending.
Right.
We were just talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Yeah.
And then they still had loose ends with the new phase that they cleared up, and now they on to the next.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they really they leave those loose ends in order to keep tying on to the next and continue it. So
right.
Like it makes sense, you know.
So give me a list of your favorite directors or producers who you just like really inspire you, or actors or actors who really inspires you. I know it's hard. It's a lot.
Well, no, like inspiration wise, like so, like for me, like Scorsese and Tarantino are probably like the two people who directorial wise, I love the most, right? Like if I had an ideal perfect director, those two, right?
Yeah.
Just all around producer and director would be Spielberg. And actually, Spielberg only because of the way he got into film and where he ended up, you know. And then John Singleton would be another one, right? And like John, I think those four are like kind of like those four ideal filmmakers, right?
Yeah.
Like, cause John did Boys in the Hood when he was 23, you know.
Yeah.
And then like I before he passed, I had I had lunch with him, or whatever. So like me and him, like 5 months before he passed away. Me and him, I was ADing a film, second ADing film. At the end, once we wrapped, I was trying to pitch to the EPs another film to get them to fund it or whatever. Yeah. And that same day I was trying to pitch them, the director, his name is Malcolm Mays. He was on Raising Cane's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from Snowfall. Cool. So me and Malcolm had became like this throughout the shoot, right? And so that day, like Malcolm pulled up and he was like, "What you doing here?" I was like, "Nah, what you doing here?" He's like,
yeah.
He looked at me. He's like, whatever. He's like, "Yeah, you riding with us." I was like, "Where are we going?" He's like, "Man," he's like, "Let's ride." And so I knew he had. Well, so earlier in the shoot, like John had called him while we was on set, and he has John in his phone shaded the shafts. And so when we was in the car and he called him, he's like, "Yeah," he like it's funny, like, "Yeah, we on the way." I leaned over, I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna go meet John." He's like, "Yeah, bro, just be cool." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird.
I'm chilling though. Like I'm like, all right, cool. You know, like we pull up and like we sat there and just like chopped it up for like 3 hours, and I'm just like, yo, like he told me about how I never knew he actually like. I never put two and two together. I didn't realize he actually like owned Hustle and Flow, right? Like I didn't realize like that was one of his like his babies, you know.
Yeah.
And I say this because like he put the money to make the movie up, you know. He produced it. He got the, you know, he got everything for that movie. He's like, yeah. He's like, no studio wanted to give me money to make it. I made it myself, and then all of them had to kiss my ass. I was like, hey, you cold. I was like, you super cold for that. So yeah, like John fed me the game on how to beat the game. That day, you know. So he fed me how to be in the studio world and beat the studio, and you know, you grow, right?
Right.
Because I've always like, I think as a kid, I've always like, as a kid, I've always fantasized owning my own studio.
Yeah.
And, you know, producing these movies and TV shows and just like pumping out all this great content, you know?
Right.
And then I think sometime as I was a kid, Tyler Perry had ended up getting a studio, being the first black man to do that. So the first black man piece in my head, I was just like, man. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna build a bigger studio than him. And so,
Hey, you set the bar, you gotta set it higher.
I mean, pretty much like, yeah, it's at that point like, oh, okay, I see what you did. My shit gonna be bigger than yours.
yeah. I was just like, all right, cool. I like, this is what we gonna do, you know?
Like
so,
that next door. Oh, go ahead. No, I'm about to say, it's like that. It's like that next door neighbor who roll up in a Rolls Royce or whatever. Oh, I see what you got. Let me go get my other Ferrari and everything else. Like, let me show you what I can do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, right, 100%. So like that whole idea and like just fantasy, you know, like that's like the ultimate end goal for me has always been like, yo, we studio lot, we pumping out not just your movies, like everybody movies, you know, like I was like, I'm gonna be like the biggest indie studio. At that point, I don't know if I can be really considered indie, but you know, hey, it'd be indie still.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, because like you can make a good movie on 2-3 million, maybe. I don't know. We'll see after this union strike if you can make a movie at all without having a Disney budget. But
yeah.
well, cause like I agree wholeheartedly with the unions. Hell yeah, they need to tax Netflix. But some of that trickles down back on the little people, and I'm just like, I was like, all right, look, I was like, now y'all know we ain't got money like Netflix. Like, I mean, like, no, it was a movie I was producing in Atlanta, like before like COVID ended up messing it up. It just never got to be. But like, we were getting rates, and one dude was like, yeah, well, this is why I charge Marvel. I was like, my God. I was like, stop playing with us. I was like, you can charge Marvel all you want. I was like, you should probably charge them more. I was like, but I'm not Marvel. I ain't Disney. I don't have a machine and a theme park behind me. I was like, we got we got Bob next door. He got a couple million that he was like, hey, go ahead and let me borrow. You know,
do your thing.
Yeah. I was like, that's what I got. I'm like, I'm not trying to cut you low, you know, but I don't ever try to, whatever the union sets or whatever, like low budget rates, that's what I try to pay. I usually try to pay that or a little bit higher if I can, you know. And you know, and it's not even like I don't even be trying to give myself a fat payday. I just be trying to make sure everybody else is good, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then like, just because recently I've had this comment, but like, you know, people see like the production fee that we charge on certain movies and stuff, and I'm like, hold on, before you start complaining, it covers BTS, legal, and accounting, and like for this movie in particular, we don't have no production office. So I'm like, me and the other producers are like my team, we're the production office, you know? Yeah. I'm just like, so don't look at that number and be like, oh, why is this number so high? Look at that number and be like, oh, you saved me $200,000. Because that's really what it is, you know? Because the lawyer's gonna go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, do you think that it's more opportunities become available with all the streaming services and stuff now that's giving more creators and indie producers or writers a chance to kind of get more content out?
It's so like, because that question is two-sided, because it's like, yeah, there is more opportunities, but at the same time, it's less opportunities. Just because I've seen the other side of the contracts, I've been there. I know what the other side looks like. I know what I know what one avenue thinks,
Yeah.
but then I know what the streamers are doing, right?
Okay.
So like, and that's actually like that's a big fight of the whole like this union fight right now. That's a big part of that fight, and it's really the streamers. Yeah, it's the little guy is getting a lot. Like there's a lot more ways for somebody to get more content, right? But because there is a lot more ways to get more content out there, you have more not so good content out there. That drowns out other content that, you know, essentially cheapens the little guy's content, right? So like, I'm gonna be honest, like they don't care how much you pay for a movie. They're gonna offer you what they think off of their weird calculation algorithm, they're gonna offer that to you, you know? And what they say is kind of what they is. And unless you have multiple people bidding for that, you're in a take what you can get kind of situation, you know?
You know what? You got me thinking about like what you just saying that. So Amazon, they got this film. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. They got a film out there called Velocipaster. And I'm serious. I'm not lying. It's called Velocipaster on Amazon. It has about 4.5 stars. And oh my, I didn't watch it, but my homeboy watched it. And you saying that these bigger company making these little guys, and I'm like looking at him like, dude, y'all said okay to this? Who gave this person funding for it?
It's Amazon like
I do not believe you, James.
Oh, okay. You do not believe me? Okay.
I do not believe
Bro,
you.
no, wait.
Googling this shit now.
Is it an Amazon original though?
Let me see.
Because Amazon is think of Amazon as YouTube a little bit.
Yeah.
I figured that. I noticed that.
Amazon will allow you to put anything on there, and Amazon will allow you to do it on Prime, you know, or just straight feed, you know. So there's a lot of bad content per se on Amazon, or not so good content on Amazon.
And I'm sorry, I'm laughing at it. 'Cause I looked it up. 'Cause I was gonna show you. So the director was, I don't know who this guy is, Brandon Steer. Budget of 35,000, 35K. 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb. It's a real thing. Velocipaster. I don't know if y'all can see it through my phone because of the light. But
no, I believe you.
Yeah, and I was like,
that's what he said. No, I believe you.
So I like, if you're gonna do stuff indie, right?
Yeah.
There's like, for me, I'm in a different position than other people just because of like a lot of my film network is at this point like people who I went to school with, right? So like a lot of people who I went to Full Sail with, or that's my film network. We've all have, at this point in the span of 5 years, we all have went from here to here in certain areas, right? Like, so I have one friend, he's an AD on a lot of TV shows now, right? And the boy is like maybe 25, 26, you know? I got another friend, he's been working for Marvel ever since we graduated, you know? So that's where we at. You know, I got several friends who like, you know, they've been moving up. For me is because I've always been good at either being the guy or being the guy that can get to the guy.
Yeah.
I've saved and helped a lot of people in a lot of different areas to do things over time, right? So therefore I've created and maintained relationships and friendships that are even deeper than your typical relationships or friendships, right? So like with him, like one of my, like the friend who actually, like the reason I'm producing the movie I'm producing now, he's been a sales agent for the longest, like maybe 3 years after he graduated, he started like working in the sales office and being a sales agent. Because at first he was like he was working in production and trying to, you know, doing this and that and everywhere, and then he like found a niche in film sales and just been doing it, right? Now he co-owns his own company. And so, you know, like I've always, all the movies I've been trying to get made, I've always run them through him and just tried to like work and navigate. And he's taught me a lot about, you know, distribution and how the deals are worked and the numbers and stuff. And then, you know, like recently I like kind of like pandemic wise and everything, I was like, hey, look, I was like, this is the direction I'm going. This is where I'm heading. I was like, support me, hop on the train with me, or like help me out, like ride with me, let's ride together, And so he's like, hey, do these type of films for these type of budgets with this type of amount. He's like, we get them sold. That way you have money, and that way you can, continue to grow money so you can do bigger and bigger projects. I was like, all right, cool. Funny enough, like the project that I bought some scripts and I've been like rewriting them and changing them up and everything. In the middle of me doing that and setting up this pitch deck and getting the money or whatever, he's like, hey, can you get fun a film? He's like, I think it'd be good just for your resume, producing resume, and it's like it's a notable like horror director, And I was like, all right, cool, sure, like let's sit down and talk. So I sat down and talked with them, met with them, and like me gapping kind of turned into me almost fully financing this film at this point. And then it also leads me to be like the producer of the film, the studio for the film, And so like, now it's like that whole like just process arc of just like going down that direction, like that in itself is I hate to say like networking, but it's a friendship thing, right? Because like I don't just call him when I need something, like I've always, hey bro, what's up? How you doing? How's your family? Like y'all good? You good over there? Like, hey yo, what you doing? Like, hey, you got some time to talk? Let's talk. And like, yeah, we'll talk shop sometimes, but we also just like I message him, hey, what you got going, bro, for the weekend? Oh, you in Mexico? Oh, all right, cool. That's what's up. Like we have just conversations over time. All my like everybody I'm like that with. Now, granted, film industry, there's two things you got to realize. Everybody's busy, right?
Yeah.
So, right. So like, if somebody actually takes time out to talk to you, and it's not on like a film piece, that's like, that's actually genuinely like I care like about you, time. Like we're friends.
Right.
Cool.
And then even if they do take time out to talk, because like there's some producers who like when I talk to them, we talk shop a lot. Like we like, yeah, how the fam and everything, but we also talk shop, right? And it's like we don't just talk shop. We be on the phone for like 4 or 5 hours explaining the shop.
Right.
So yeah, it's like it's those relationships. The more you build, the more you can move further. Grow. Like
Industry. Yeah.
this is also why I'm able to. Oh, you need this? Hold on, let me make a call real quick. Hey, yo, I got something that benefits you. It ain't gonna benefit me at all, but it benefits you for sure.
That's how you became the guy that knows the guy.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like, I've always wanted to help people, right? So like even what's it called, Michael? Like, the script that he I can't remember. I know you sent the script. I can't remember if it was you or Chris that asked me to like read the script. And I'm like, yeah, shoot it over. I'm good. Like, let me see it. Let's talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how does your how do pitch meetings go? How do you pitch something to these bigger companies, or how do you go about doing that? Your pitch. What's your pitch process? You can't talk about it. Hey, it's all good, man. I understand.
Nah, I mean, like we'll talk about the basis of it. So like half it, because you gotta realize I get in some of these meetings because of relationships I have. So because of relationships I've garnered. So like like I'm somebody who goes to the cigar bar and chop it up with the whole lounge.
Yeah.
Somebody in there gotta have,
That's a good trait to have, actually.
And that's actually how we all met too.
Yeah, that's how.
Right.
Yeah, that's how
we
met.
the thing, and we just chopping it up. And
Yeah,
that's like I just I peek my head out once in a while when I got some time, and I'm like, hey yo, I mean like, but like these meetings. So first off, anybody who's trying to get money out of anybody, like y'all gotta understand two things. One, you need some type of plan of action, right? So like there's a film industry, basically you need a pitch deck, right? Film school, they taught us how to make pitch decks. And then I got in the real world and realized the pitch decks don't have to be as complex as we made them in film school, right? I've actually like went through a whole mock pitch and everything and all that stuff at Full Sail. Like there's a class where we did all that, right? And so from there, I've learned always be prepared when you go in, know everything, right? And like in that instance, I was a producer and a DP on the film that we were like the fake film that we were pitching. And I knew so much. Like I went to shoot and film, right? And me and one of the teachers kind of got into a bit of a like tit for tat about it. And every question he asked me, I had an answer for it. So much so that he asked me a question that I knew for sure in his heart of heart, he didn't think I had the answer for it, and I had the answer for it. And he just, because I knew he did, I knew he felt that way. Because when I gave him the answer, he was like, oh, okay. And so I've always had that unique ability to do that to people. So whenever I go to these pitch meetings, a lot of times I would get the yes or something like that. Is because I answer questions or say something that they didn't expect to come out of my mouth. Especially because like I'm 29, but like they look at us and we're like, yeah, you're young, you don't know what you're doing, and it's like, let me learn you something real quick. Let me show you where I come from. Let me show you what other people have taught me. Like I said, I'm good at being a sponge around people who know more than me.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm okay at admitting when people know more than me.
Exactly.
So that's how I figure all of that out. So those pitch meetings, you definitely need a pitch deck. I always make sure my budget is A1, and then I have like a ROI, a projection chart of ROI, right? So I'm like, hey, you put this much into it. This is how much we can get in incentives. This is how much we can get off of sales if it goes right. Worst case scenario, I always tell them, at least you'll make the incentives up right away. That's worst case, because they always ask about worst case. What's the worst case? The incentives, yeah, it's not your full money back, but it's a good chunk or portion of your, it's something of your money back. It might be 25% of the money back, it's something of the money back. And then from there, I promise you over time, if you wait all the chunks and pieces of your money back, and then you'll garnish a return, And it's only really because of what Chris said earlier, the whole streaming system, right? Like, yeah, the streaming system, it may take long, but it'll get there. And then if you can waver up enough buzz to cause DVDs or online like stream, just have people pay the rent or buy it, then you'll make the money back faster than slower, sooner than later. A lot of people miss on a marketing piece. So there's a lot of great movies out there, but marketing wise, they miss the marketing piece. Because a lot of people don't know how to create that buzz, right? And that is a secret art that I can tell y'all off camera, but I can't tell you all.
No.
We're definitely gonna have some conversations with you. We definitely want to have some conversations.
What future projects you got going on that you can tell us about? That you can tell us about, so everyone can look out for.
I mean, right now I own the rights to most of these projects, so.
Okay.
I can tell y'all, the one to look out for would be High Desert, which is the one I'm working on now. Okay. That's the one we're gonna shoot at the top of the year, and then it'll be like pushed out later this year, later next year. But that's the one we're like wheels on the ground on hard, and I got like 2 or 3 more after that. That as soon as that one, like once we have that one out of the like basically in the film camera, I'm gonna try to roll into the next one and shoot that next one, just so all 3 of them can kind of be released simultaneously around the same time. So, and then after that, I have hopefully I have some explosions. I always joke and tell people I'm like a bomb maker, and so I sit here and I build these bombs meticulously, and I set them. I'm like, it takes time to build a bomb, because if you mess it up, it's gonna blow up on you, right? And once you build it, you have to set it off at the right time. So just because you have it built, sometimes you got to put it on the shelf and just wait.
Gotcha.
The U.S. built a bunch of nukes. They ain't send them all off at once.
But if they need to.
Right.
Are there any past projects you worked on that people might know of, or something that you like just so proud of that you did? And then after that, we'll wrap it up and get you out of here, because I know we're getting closer to.
No, all them shit's been fast, man.
Gotcha, man.
Anything 2020 and back, I do not care about right now.
Anything post-COVID, I don't even care about. I don't care.
I don't even like them movies no more. I don't even want y'all to look them up. Don't IMDb me. Like,
it's like
Well, no, I've cleaned my IMDb up. Like,
Gotcha.
I purposely don't put my name on certain things. So.
Gotcha. I
I
understand.
got you. We got
I
you.
got
Man.
It's like Jay Z
Well,
said, once you have filet mignon, it's kind of hard to go back to steak. So let me go ahead and yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So now, like, yeah, none of these past projects, because
Gotcha.
I've done a lot of post work on a couple of projects and like for people and stuff like that, and so I was just like, all right, cool, but hey, you gotta pay me to market, man. I'm a tool.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Nah, yeah, I consider myself a film Swiss Army knife, so that's
Good.
it. Yeah.
Gotcha, bro.
Well, could you tell us, tell people where they can follow you if they want to follow you, or
Yeah, AK_photos. There's nothing on there right now because I kind of like watched the whole Instagram for the current second. So there's nothing on there, but I'm kind of revamping that. And then if when y'all see Carpe Diem Studios, just know that that's the studio banner. Or that's Carpe Diem Studios. Yeah, that's my studio banner.
all right, man, we'll be in touch.
Cool. Nah,
All right.
if you ever want to talk again, let me know. Hit me up.
All right.
If I got more questions, I got y'all.
I got you. All right, bro.
Appreciate it, fam. Be safe.
No problem.